So what did we do? Roger Ailes and Arthur Finkelstein came up with this thing. We'll put your mother on. And mine was the first of many to come. You've seen many candidates who have their mother say, my son, he's wonderful, et cetera, et cetera. We filmed my mother at a supermarket. And so my mother's carrying the groceries, and she's saying, you know, people don't feel safe on the streets. Young people can't buy a home. The cost of goods is going up. And just as she's about to go into the house, she turns to the TV camera, takes off her glasses, and says, vote for my son, Al. He'll be a good senator. In Italiano, we say, mamma mia. Incredible. The commercial became a hit. The Ailes commercial, Roger Ailes, was then not the great.
Your mother's a pop icon, pop culture icon.
She went on the road, traveled to Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Albany. People came to see Mama D'Amato. We put out a little pamphlet called Mama D'Amato's Inflation Fighters. Later, we put out a book with her recipes. The Daily News, they actually tried these recipes. They thought maybe they were great recipes. And when Mama went to Buffalo, people heard about it. 5,000 people turned out to see Mama D'Amato. I never forget, one guy came up to me and he said, was that really your mother? I said, yeah, that was my mother. Well, if that was your mother, how come you made her carry the packages?
Oh.
You know? And so Mama became an icon. The numbers began soaring. Jimmy Breslin, who really had a thing for me, if this wasn't a family program, I would say a hard-on for me.
Yeah, right. That's okay.
But, okay. He did really write one funny thing. He said, you know, he said, I would never vote for Al D'Amato, but I'd vote for his mother.
That's not bad, though.
It wasn't bad. So our numbers started climbing. Our opponent, she tried to put her father out on the road. Didn't cut it. It was a poor imitation. And the fact is, election night, we scored from 23 points back. We scored a great victory. And nobody believed it. And, of course, it didn't hurt to have Ronald Reagan, who was incredible. And he was more human, up close and personal than you could possibly believe.
He won New York.
He carried New York by about 400,000 votes.
Which is unheard of nowadays.
Unheard of. You know, on primary night, when I won the Republican primary, I came home, and my daughter, who at that time, Lorraine, was 16, said, you got a call from someone who said he was Governor Reagan. And when he called, apparently she said, get out of here. Who is this? Stop kidding around. He said, no, this is Governor Reagan. And he said, look, please take this number and have your father call me. So we got in, and it's a 3-hour time differential, so it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning here, 3 hours earlier in California. So I called, and it was the governor calling to congratulate me. But fabulous individual, much brighter than anybody. You know, only when he died thereafter, and they found the 600-plus speeches that he had handwritten, then they say, my God, this was a bright guy. He was not only bright, but he had the ability to delegate and brought in terrific people. Brought in James Baker, who Jimmy Baker was his chief of staff. Jimmy Baker and I didn't always get along, but let me tell you this. What a hard worker, what a bright guy, and conscientious, whether you agreed with him on something or not. If a senator made a phone call to him, he got back to that person within 24 hours, whether it was a Republican, a Democrat. He was on the ball. It was incredible. And so Reagan brought this great team. Now you look at the president we have now, Obama, incredible. He's got all these college professors, left-wingers. He's engaged in the social equalization business, the millionaire's tax. What a bunch of garbage. You know, if you're really going to raise the taxes on people who are really making $1 million, that's one thing you could discuss. But a family that has an income of $250,000 with husband and wife working, they're not millionaires. So, Mr. President, wake up. Stop the nonsense. That's political warfare, class warfare. That's not what makes this country great. Yes, people of means should pay their fair share. So close the tax loopholes. Reduce this nonsense. Bring us down to a flat tax. Do away with all of these various exemptions. Keep maybe the three key ones. The ability, and I'll tell you something else. To say if you're making X dollars, we're not going to let you deduct your interest on your mortgage. You will totally ruin the housing industry and depress home ownership even more and the ability of people to own homes. What are you thinking of? What possesses you? You didn't grow up impoverished. Sure, you've seen a lot of poor people and you want to help them. You don't help poor people by trying to tear down the strength of this country. You don't advance jobs and opportunity by simply saying, get the rich guy. No, rich guy should pay his fair share, but we should have a better and fairer tax system and tax code that encourages. Don't go after corporate America by saying raise their taxes. We pay the highest taxes in the industrialized world. That's why major corporations are moving their businesses offshore, so they don't pay 35%, so that they pay 10% or 15%. So that's how you make America great. Ronald Reagan understood it. Ronald Reagan knew it. And I got elected because of Mama D'Amato and Ronald Reagan.
On that note, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we'll finish up with the final few minutes with former U.S. Senator Alfonse D'Amato.
But today, that camaraderie, where you could battle but then come together, is gone.
The Turning Point is brought to you by Smith DeGroat Real Estate, serving the tri-state area since 1955, and CAI, Insurance Solutions since 1961. On the web at www.conferenceny.com. Turning Point with Frank MacKay is brought to you by Atlantic Honda, New York's auto giant, and Herman Katz, Kangemi & Klein, property tax attorneys and advisors.
We are back at Turning Point with our very special guest, former U.S. Senator Alfonse D'Amato. Senator, off camera, we spoke a little about the interaction between Democrats and Republicans, whether it's in the Senate, in Congress. Often, it seems like a game. They fight in front of the camera, they battle it out. Later that night, you'll see them eating together, drinking together, partying together.
No, Frank, got it wrong.
Go ahead.
That's the way it used to be. And you could get things done. And you could cross party lines and reach out and get Democrats to help you on something where you needed votes, and vice versa. Joe Biden and I, we could agree on something, take it to the bank. Dennis DeConcini, another Democrat, Chris Dodd, another. Doesn't mean we agreed on everything. As a matter of fact, maybe we disagreed on the majority of things. But we could, for example, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, our great senator from New York, we worked together hand in glove. Oh, yeah, there were partisan issues where our parties differed, we differed. But today, that camaraderie, where you could battle but then come together, is gone. Today, it has really become two partisan groups fighting to almost kill each other. That's not good for the country. And you need some moderation. And the right says don't compromise. The left says don't compromise. When I hear people saying, we're not going to raise taxes $1, even if we got $10 in spending cuts, what are you, nuts? Are you out of your mind? We have to get spending cuts and real and substantial. Actually have to get reform so that people today are living much longer. So Social Security shouldn't be kicking in now as it was in the past. So 10 years from now, you raise the level. But when people on my side say, well, we won't raise taxes one iota, you're kooky. Now, I'm not saying just go out and raise taxes, but let's get spending under control and then use additional revenues by way of reforming the tax code. Should GE be paying no taxes at all? Now, that's wrong. Close those loopholes. Make it fair. Make it so people can feel good and that they're not getting cheated. That's what people want to see. But we got to get Republicans and Democrats working together. So what do you have? On the left side, with the Democrats, you got these kookies who would spend and spend, tax and tax. On the right, you've got extremists who say, cut, cut, cut. Well, you could cut everything unless you reform Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and military. By the way, should we have hundreds of thousands of troops throughout the world? Should we have tens of thousands of troops that are costing us like $1 million for each one in Germany? I mean, it's crazy. You know, the Russians are no big threat over there. So what do we have, 50,000 troops there? Some huge number. So there are areas in which, even in defense, and I'm a hawk, that we can reduce and make the American citizens know the government is working for them and not just for our own re-election.
Perfect place to end. We can go on forever with you. Hopefully you'll come back and we'll talk some more.
Look forward to it.
Thank you very much for tuning in. We are with our good friend, and he's been very gracious with his time here, Senator Alfonse D'Amato. Thank you for tuning in.